If you're anything like me, you've probably spent hours building workshops, courses, boot camps, that sort of thing. You get really, really into it. You love what you're building, and then you go out and give it to the world, launch it to everybody, and nothing. Nobody cares. And it's devastating. I've felt that feeling. And recently, I came across an idea that I've used and tested to make sure that never happens again. And I never have to feel like I've wasted all of that effort. Let's say you're hosting a party. Would you go out and buy all the food, all the drinks, set the playlist first? Or would you make sure that you knew who were coming and you got the RSVPs, you know your numbers, you know who's going to be there, and you tailor it specifically to them and their personality? I've figured out a way to apply this exact same concept to my business. And the way that I'm doing this is building out wait lists for any offer, any launch, any product or service. Before I fully put it together, even when it's just an idea, a concept, I start letting people know about it and making sure that people actually care. Now, this isn't just a standard waitlist with a bunch of emails that no one ever opens. We can do a bit more with this. We'll get into that a bit later. But first, we want to talk about why do we actually want a waitlist? Why is this valuable and why is it useful? So, the first reason that a waitlist is useful, it validates demand. If you have 50, 75, 100 people on a waitlist, you know that at the very least, there's interest in the market for what you're offering. Personally, I had an idea for a boot camp using AI to build out quiz funnels for people. I wasn't sure if anyone wanted this. It felt like a good idea, but I had to actually stop myself before I built out all the course materials and put together an ad, send it out to the world, and say, hey, do you want this? And within 24, 48 hours, I had 10, 15 people opting in, and it just kept on stacking. And that's when I knew I actually have to build this thing because people do want it, and it's not just some silly idea. And having that list of people actually really motivated me to build that. And that's another benefit there is it's not just something that I could tinker with for days, weeks, months. People were interested in this. They wanted it now. So that gave me the push that I needed to get cracking, put it together, even if it was a bit messy on the first run, but create something to actually serve these people who've said, yes, I'm interested. Where do I start? What I noticed that was a bit different to other times where I've tried to put boot camps and workshops together is that I would spend hours and hours tweaking, tinkering, trying to put little bits and pieces together in the past. But when I had this demand there, this list of people who said, yes, I'm interested, I felt very, very motivated to get it done as quickly as possible. Put it together, allow it to be a little bit messy, and get it ready for them as quickly as I could. Another benefit I found was when it was time to launch, what I did was actually put the waitlist number on the landing page as well as the remaining places. And this showed everyone exactly how many people there were who wanted this thing and how many spots were remaining. And there was a big discrepancy in that because I wanted to keep the boot camp small. It was real scarcity there. I only wanted 15 people in, whereas we had 75 on the waiting list, I think, at the start there. And those 75 people, when they saw the numbers, were very motivated to get in as quickly as possible because they didn't want to miss out. Something else I found to be super useful, and I have a little special trick for this, is how to actually use their feedback. Start talking to people on the waitlist to find out what they want, where they're at, what they're struggling with. And you can start by just having a simple form, asking one or two qualifying questions of what are you struggling with? What do you want to get out of this? Super valuable there. And then actually trying to talk to them, over email, saying, what's going on? What else do you need? How can I help make this the best possible experience for you? So little pieces of the bootcamp actually got tweaked. There were things that I missed, assumptions that I made as to their skill level at the start. Whereas instead of jumping right into using AI to build a quiz, we had a little starting point of how to use ChatGPT. Now, one of the most difficult things with creating a new offer, creating a workshop, a bootcamp, whatever, if it's going to be paid, sometimes you just do a free one and it's not a problem, but is figuring out the pricing. How much should it cost? And we have ideas in our head. A lot of the time we underprice things. I've done that myself very recently. But what I would recommend is ask the waitlist. Ask them up front. Give them a bit of an idea of what it involves, and then ask these 4 questions. These can be in a form. You don't have to ask them face to face, although it helps if you do, is what price do you think would be way too expensive for this offer? What's so high that you think, you know what, it's not worth it. I don't care. Now this other one goes in the exact opposite direction, is what price is too cheap? What do you think would be so cheap that you'd assume that it's worthless? If you're charging $1 to run $1,000 worth of ads, people aren't going to buy that. It's too cheap. Now that we've got those two ends, we're going to get into the middle spectrum, which is what price do you think is a little bit too high, probably the top end. You'd still consider it, but you'd have to think about it. And then the fourth question is what price would it seem like a great bargain? Still valuable, but a great price that you'd be happy to pay, you'd pay it every single day. And then from those four questions, we can try and find a middle point, and then it's up to you as to, do you want to go high end and have people think about it, or do you want an easy yes, or do you want to go somewhere in the middle? Now, I mentioned earlier there's a special little trick I'm using to make this a bit easier, and what it is, it's about conversation. So form inputs are good, getting emails back and forth are good, but they don't really compare to actually talking to someone one-on-one, a back and forth conversation. But how do we do that? Well, what I've been using recently is using a Facebook ad, the on Facebook form where they fill in those details, they answer those first couple of questions. There's actually a little trigger there that starts a messenger conversation. It just sends that first message there. It's automated. Everyone knows it's automated, but it sends that out to them. So then you've got a messenger conversation. Now, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get a response to that first message. But what you do is after 24, 48 hours, go back, send another message, more personalized, saying, hey, saw you're interested. I'd love to talk to you about this a bit more. That starts a real conversation where you can actually get a lot more detail as to what they want, what they're interested in. And you'd be amazed at how much people open up. So I hope that's making sense to you. And you can now see that waitlists are super powerful, not just to validate demand, but to get some input as well, some insight into your ideal client. And if you're interested in putting these together, I have a resource in my Skool community down below. You can click the link there to show you how I set up waitlist ads, how to put it all in place to make sure you get the information you need and start those conversations. All right, that's it. I'll see you in the next one.